What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Steelhead Alley Podcast. I'm Kyle, and today we're closing the book on Season 1 with Part 2 of our final winter trip recap. This episode is the last chapter of the season, and today I'm joined by my longtime friend and fishing buddy Pono, who was able to join us for this final run up to the alley. And let's just say, winter didn't take it easy on us. Day 2 brought some of the coldest temps of the entire season. We're talking locked up edges, constant ice breaking, frozen guides, and drifting through endless waves of slush that made every clean presentation feel like a small victory. It was a grind from start to finish. But after doing a little exploring and trusting our instincts, we found exactly what we were looking for. A pot of fresh fish stacked into a stretch of water that gave us a real shot. And even with the brutal conditions, we got into steady action all day long. It was truly an unforgettable finish to the season. This one is all about battling the elements, leaning on good friends, and ending the season the right way. Earned fish, frozen hands, and memories that'll carry us into next fall. Season 1 wraps up right here. So now, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode 12, Steelhead Alley Podcast. Part 2, finishing up. Final trip of the season. And we got a special guest. Pono's here with me. Been a long time coming. Pono, welcome back, man. What's up, dude? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
That's right. Only caller. So thank you. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Dude, I'm glad you're on here. I feel like it's been a long time coming. We both got busy lives with the kids. I talk about it on here, but you, I think, are a little bit thicker in it right now.
Oh yeah, we're in the weeds.
How old's baby girl?
She's good. Everybody's good. Yeah, you touched on it a little bit there on part 1, but our oldest, my son, got a cold right before we were about to hit the road, and then a snowstorm hit, and the in-laws weren't sure they were going to make it, but luckily they made it through the storm, got up here, which I'm thankful for because it was an insane trip. Yeah, definitely everybody's good.
Timing's crazy with kids. Like, the timing is insane. There's things that happen, and I'm like, this is wild that this happened right now. Of all days, of all times.
Yeah, and thank God you guys were coming this way anyway, because the original plan was for me to come down to you. That pivoted the day of, I think, or maybe the night before. I was like, hey, this might be coming up. And then, yeah, you were like, we can scoop you up at your spot, which was perfect because I was able to stick around here long enough to get kids down, wait for it kind of to settle here. And then, yeah, you guys rolled in. We hit the road, and yeah, the chaos began, which was great.
So we're going to jump into day 2 mostly, but Pono hasn't been in the game for a while. So let's kind of backtrack, give a little intro. So me and Pono known each other for a long time, lived together, fished together, started fly fishing together, which is really, really cool. And then Pono's been steelhead fishing a few times in the last couple years and had the back surgery, had the baby. So why don't you get into that, bud? How'd it feel getting back in? How was the anticipation?
Yeah, the anticipation was definitely at an all-time high. Just with the family life, like you said, I wasn't even really trout fishing that much this past year. So a year off of steelhead, very minimal trips, maybe a handful at most trout fishing. So yeah, I was super excited to go, but I definitely had a nervous factor going on of, can I A, remember how to do this, B, what's it gonna be like, because you forget how much of a hit that is in a tug. I was just like really excited about it, but I was also just kind of rethinking everything, my setup, the technique, because that's different, you know, all of it. Even once you hook into one, the patience not to horse it. And then it's also more that like teamwork energy up there, just like the communication, all that. It's a very different game up there. We discussed it going up in the car, kind of had a game plan put together, put my mind at ease a little bit, but I knew it was going to be something where you just got to get out there, you got to feel it, and that's what we did. We definitely felt it day one. It was cool.
And it's so unpredictable out there. We have game plans, but it never, I say this all the time, steelhead is never easy. It just never goes the way you think it's going to go. They always put a loop in it, whether that's weather, just not finding fish. You know, there's some real highs and lows up there. It's hard to prepare yourself for that. And we've all been there. And the way steelhead are, honestly, a lot of times there's not even a rhyme or reason for it, and it's tough.
For sure. From my perspective, this was a classic steelhead trip. There's really high
Yeah.
highs, and then there were definitely a lot of lows for me on day two, beating myself up. It was just unique because it's usually flipped. It's usually the first day you're struggling, and then you figure it out. You got the location locked, you got your technique back, so on and so forth. We had it a little bit reversed for me. Day one, amazing. Day two, struggle bus, beating myself up, mental game, all that was in effect. But yeah, end of the day, can't really say anything bad about it because it was an amazing trip. I could have gone home after day one and been just happy as can be. So everything else outside of that was a bonus. And you and I are very similar in the fact that just being outside and being in nature is a win.
And that's part of that reset, right? Just connecting with nature, being with the boys, just doing something different. It's self-explanatory. We know we all love our kids, we love our family, and doing that. And that's why we sacrifice our fishing time. Like you said, you fish so much less. And then when you get one of these trips, it makes it that much more special.
Yeah, yeah. This is the thing outside of family and all that. This is the thing that fills my cup. So
That's right.
always
That's right.
nice to get out there and do it.
Exactly, man. And boys need to fill the cup. I mean, girls do too, but it's different. We got a different cup to fill.
For sure.
That's a whole barrel.
Yes, it is.
But all right, so day one, it was a free for all. We have
Yep.
talked about it. What did it feel like just putting a line back in for you? And that first bite, that first take, did it like little Eminem snap back to reality? What was that like for you, man?
Yeah, I again just kind of classic Steelhead, but you guys on the ride up were talking about this spot where we started day one, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like it was so good the last time, this, that, and the other. And we get
Mm-hmm.
there and we're all just looking at each other like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? But that's Steelhead. They're there one day, they're gone the next. I think that was kind of like, okay, let's recenter ourselves here. Yes, we had high expectations. This hole was going to be popping. It's not. This is steelhead fishing. It's time to work. We broke ice. We did the whole thing. Spot two, we got there. It was looking good because there was only one other group getting dressed at the time. So we were like, okay, competition's low. But you and I split off. We went downstream. Honestly, I think that was probably the best for me. Again, I'm shaking the rust off. I don't want to revisit it too much, but we found a really nice seam in there that should have been holding steelhead, and there probably were some in there. But it was great for me because I worked that one hard. You kept going down a bit, but I was just
Yep.
like, this looks way too good.
It was steely.
Yeah, it was definitely steely. It had that haze to it, so you couldn't see for sure what was in there. There was a tree in there, like it was a little bit of a log jam situation. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna practice some technical casting too, just so that when we get to something that's really going, I've already got the rust off. I'm ready to go. So I really was just focusing on that to jump. And then come upstream hot and you're like, Dave just said he kicked up a pod. I'm like, okay. And I think you might have cast a few more times just because that seam looks so good. But it's one of those things where like we knew there were fish above us, so why are we standing here? Let's go find those ones that Dave just kicked out. It definitely felt good to get some casts in again. And then that first hookup was just nuts. And you forget how powerful they are. You forget what the ride's like. You kind of forget it all. And then as soon as your line stops, you're like, is this it? Or is this a snag? And when it's not a snag, you're just like, man, hold on. Yeah, the tip's just bouncing. And yeah, that was a wild kind of reintroduction to it. But it was great. And we had just chaos going on there once it lightened up.
Dude, real quick, back on that run when you were talking about when we went downstream. I know you just said that there were probably fish in there. I think about it more since we cleaned up and caught a ton of fish, how we had to break ice and how we saw them hiding under the 5 inches of shelf ice. Did you ever think, had we gone back down there and actually cleared that ice out? I would have loved to gone back and actually cleared out that run
Yeah.
or fished it a lot harder.
I would say yes. I think we could have gone back. We could have worked it differently, cleared out some ice, and probably gotten into fish. I don't think the numbers were there, but yeah, I do think there were steelhead in there.
Yeah, and I even mean maybe like three. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I don't even mean
definitely.
necessarily a lot.
I think we're just nitpicking because we're like,
For
could there
sure.
have been a successful spot there? Yeah, I think there was, but we went to where it made sense. We saw a pod, we fished that pod.
Were you dialing in your sighter when you were working that run? Was that something you were kind of eyeing up again? Know where I'm focusing, how much bend I want in that sighter because I like a little sag in it. I don't
Yes.
know. I feel like the first couple drifts, I'm more tuned into that to make sure I'm in there. Were you doing
Yeah, I
that at
was
all?
I was doing that because that's a big thing. I ask you questions all the time. You started this episode off like we started around the same time. Oddly enough, I'm just gonna have to drop this. I got the first fly rod, but you have way more time on water than me, so I pick your brain as much as possible whenever we're fishing, and that's something I always struggle with. If I'm too tight, if I don't have enough slack, or I'm putting too much slack in it. But another thing is just the weight that you got to use up there. Making sure I was hitting the bottom, feeling that kind of roll off the
Yes.
bottom instead of floating it. That was the two things I was looking at there. And again, just some
Good
technical
point.
casting. Like I want to hit that spot. What's it take? Because this is a different rod than my normal one.
Those big
All that.
dogs.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah,
rods are big. Those 7 weights.
yeah.
Great
The
point.
rod that I didn't know I had and found it while I was packing everything. Can't
You had
believe
a
that
late
either. That's how
Christmas.
long I was off. Yeah. You're off so long you forget what your most recent setup is. Yep, yep. Got myself a little present I didn't know about, which was great. I think I took it on the last trip because it's definitely been christened, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was like getting a
Yes.
new toy, which was great. And then I have the backup one that I thought I was going to be using. So always good to have two. You've said that. And we ran into that situation up there, but
Yes, we did. I still haven't replaced my tip replaced.
yeah. And we had it all up there, man. We had the broken rod, broken net.
But
What
yeah,
else? Yeah. Fun
broken
times.
shins, dude. My shins got so beat up from that trip. I stepped through ice and it's probably like 2 feet deep, but it was one of those things where the ice was kind of thick, so the ice like brushed against my leg, and I could like feel how bruised my shins were from pushing ice with my legs, stomping through ice and breaking, because that's all we did, like
Yep.
for, especially day one and all that. So my shins were absolutely destroyed after this trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worth it
I
though.
forgot I also lost that magnetic fly patch. So we had a
My
broken
goodness.
rod,
Yeah.
broken net, and then a lost fly patch. It was a day
Yeah.
we were yard sailing out there.
Yeah. We were yard sailing. Wow, it's nothing's worse than when I lost like 40 plus flies down the
Yeah.
river.
You were still doing that. You dropped one up there that
Yeah.
Dave found, and then when I switched sides on day two, I found that whole setup. You're up around your drop,
Yeah.
we're laying on the
Yeah.
ice, and I'm like, whose is this? You're like, oh, great.
Purple bead. That's probably ale.
Yep, yep.
I can't wait to tell that story about the one that Dave found. So, all right, let's get into it, man. So, day one, sleigh day. The day was unbelievable. And upgrading with the Airbnb, right? Like living
Yeah, that
large.
was a new experience.
It's fun, right? It's just cool with the boys. More of that vibe together.
There's more social for sure because we kind of break off and go to our own rooms for the motel. Plus, we just have more space to put our gear out, dry things out. It was just more comfortable. But yeah, I don't want to go back to day one too much, but you mentioned the beer break that we took for lunch. That's like something that sticks out in my mind because although we were having an amazing morning, it's one of those things where like it can turn off like a light switch. We were having a blast, don't get me wrong, but we were also like, let's keep this going. Get back in there, next guy, next guy. And
Yeah.
then we took that break for lunch and had a beer and kind of chilled for a minute. And that was really the first time I felt like I was able to step back and kind of put in perspective what kind of an insane day we were having and just be like, this is unheard of. Appreciate every second of it because it's rare that you get this. And yeah, that first day's lunch was really an epic moment for us. And then that snow squall rolled in right after lunch. That was the icing on the cake because we love the elements. Really cool.
It was so cool. That snow squall was kind of this moment of, all right, boys, I know it's been amazing, but let's just make it a little bit cooler for y'all.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
to your point, like the way we talk about like steelhead fishing and the way ups and downs, the highs and lows, like we've been searching for a day like this for a long, long time. I mean, we've had great days where it's been consistent, but this was just different, especially the time of year. And because the last 2 years have been abnormally tough in general. So to your point, that when you have that moment and you do get to step back and just be like, and take a metaphorical breath of fresh air, and then
Yeah.
and you're like, holy shit, this is crazy. While we were drinking our beers, because it was so hot, you're even like, I still want to keep fishing. It's even
I know.
hard for me to just step back. And normally we're always like, all right, let's chill, have a beer. And even then you're like, it's too hot. I just got to get a line back in.
I think that's why I couldn't put myself under the bridge during the squall because we stood there for a little bit longer, but then I was like, all right, we're cooking time and this is still hot. And It wasn't as great during that, but as soon as the squall stopped, it picked right back up where we left it off before lunch. But yeah, I was definitely feeling that as well. I was like, okay, lunch was great. Like you're saying, it was a breath. We kind of let the adrenaline die down a minute, but then yeah, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get lines back in the water. Let's go, because it's happening.
I love it. I actually liked it even more that me and Dave went under the bridge at that time because I enjoyed the perspective of being under the bridge and watching you and Stump standing there just getting dumped on snow, and then me seeing it from a perspective of almost like it's being framed because of the bridge is in like my peripherals. And then
Yeah,
watching that on the film, it's framed even more, dude. You two are literally standing in a blizzard, just
yeah,
chilling. It was the perfect day. It really was.
yeah.
It was the
It
perfect
was
day. And you know what, in hindsight, the start to the morning, if you look back on it for breaking ice, it makes the day even better because we started with such a stark contrast to the rest of our day. That first hour was 100% opposite than that rest of that day.
yeah, that was crazy.
So then moving into day two,
Hmm.
cold, right? So we
Yeah.
prepped for the cold for day one. We talked about doing some ice off pace, all this jazz, but it was about to drop.
Hmm.
I don't remember what the high was looking like. It was like teens, right?
Yeah, but the wind factor was dropping
Yeah.
in, I think, single digits. Because when we were getting drinks and burgers that first night, there were flags outside the window, and I was watching them, and they were just straight out. Like the wind just rolled in real heavy that night, and it cooled it off so fast.
I did the same thing and saw one of the flags just ripping. So cold and windy. Good point.
Yeah,
I think we slept in a little bit, kind of took our time.
we had some coffee, we chilled, but yeah, we didn't waste time. Yeah,
I enjoyed that sitting there drinking a cup of coffee as we're getting ready. And then filled the thermoses, which is always clutch, especially on a day like that. Holy moly, game changer, man. When you can just put something warm in your belly throughout the day, it was big. Then strawberry pies.
gotta have them. We discovered them on a steel trip.
Yep. At that same one, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same McDonald's. It's the Strawberry Pie Palace. So
It is.
we knew it with that cold. It's gonna be a harder day.
Dude, yeah. Cheat code, put it in your pouch with your hand warmer, keep it warm. Got a little oven going on the water. You know how I do.
Yeah. Just eating strawberry pies on the water, man, that's the way to do it.
We're not roughing it.
No way. Nope. Hey, man, we roughed it for a long time. So we were making our way back to the same section, and there was a lot of different sections. I talked about this in part one. You could hit little buckets down below the bridge. Above, we had more exploring. So I knew we could test it out, but there was a good chance that those fish were not going to hit. You know what I mean? It was too hot yesterday. And then when you work them that much, there's a good chance that they're not going to be on. So we get to the water, and it's one of those things I was like, oh, it's slushy, which you expect with those temperatures. But oh, it's not as slushy as I thought it was going to be. But I don't know. My eyes were not accurate. It was a lot slushier than what I initially thought it was.
For sure. It was weird. And I remember driving up that morning, we crossed a few smaller
Mm,
trips and we were like, those look good. We
yeah.
might be hitting this right. We're getting lucky, so on and so forth. But when we got to this one, you're right. It didn't look bad, especially that spot that was on fire. There was some ice
Yep.
around the rocks there on the upper
Yep.
part, but we'll break that off. Maybe stir them up a little bit with that, but let them chill off, and then we'll get into them. But yeah, something was going on above us, or the weather was just getting colder and we didn't realize it. But the slush was coming, and it kept coming all day.
And it was bad. It was thick.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about it consistently in this, but it's the worst slush I've ever fished in. There's been times where it's been that slushy and I'm like, man, I don't know if it's worth it. But we knew there were fish there. It's always worth it if you know there's fish there. If we didn't know where fish were, that would have been a lot more discouraging.
for sure.
Really freaking discouraging.
Especially once you guys started catching them, it was like, okay, it's doable. But
Right.
yeah, it definitely,
Exactly.
that was where my mental battle day two was. I got really beat down by the slush.
It's tough, man. That slush is it's really demoralizing. Like you see it and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be tough, so tough. Because we're nymphing. It's like a leaf hatch too. They're
Yes.
just keeping your flies up. You're casting in there and there's your egg and your dropper and they're just drifting right on top. You're like, cool, that's awesome.
Or you get a good one in, and then it's coming down, and then you get bumped by slush that just came in behind it, and you're like, well, there goes that. I don't know if that was a fish or if that was the slush, and Now it's taking your line fast, and it's a mess.
And to your point, now I said on everything, right? Like, but to your point, you do slightly second guess some of your takes too,
Yep,
because
yep,
you're like, dang, was that ice? Was that a fish? Like, you know, you can never set too many times.
yep. And I was trying to get the skunk off, so anything that felt like a fish, I was going for it, which got
For
me.
sure. Dude, do you remember looking at the bottom of the water with how slushy the rocks actually were? The ice sticking to the rocks? Do you
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
that? It looked like
Yeah.
the water was like hazy. You know what I mean? And I've seen that before, but the amount of slush that actually built up on the bottom of the riverbed
Right.
was more surprising to me than anything. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was unique for me because usually the ice builds at the top and then slush will
Right.
collect underneath it and get thicker and thicker and work its way down. But you're right, it was all over the place. It was nuts,
It was
and
nuts.
frustrating. On top of that, once we did break ice, we could see them better. They were all facing the bank. And so that was frustrating because they weren't facing upstream. So your flies weren't going right in front of them. And I think that's truly why Dave and I, like, we hung out at the lower spot longer while you and Stump went up. But I think that's why we had so many foul hooks and tail wraps in that section because they were just not facing the right way for our presentation.
In my experience, if they're facing a funny way away from the way the water's drifting, sometimes they can face like a little back eddy or something, like a little back swirl, and because there's food drifting in that current, that makes sense to me. But when they're completely like perpendicular to the flow of the water where the food sources are coming, they're spooked. They're just super turned off from whatever it is. We know it was from us again, catching a ton of them and working them good the day before. And then that temperature drop, like that they're probably like, screw this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I ain't doing anything.
Yeah, that's part of some of my regrets. Again, can't be mad about the trip, but now that you can like have afterthoughts, I think it's easier to be like, I regret not doing X, Y, and Z, and that's one of them. Like, I worked that
Yeah.
hole so hard because it was so productive, but if I had gone back under the bridge, the current was a little quicker, and they wouldn't have been able to turn that way. So I would have had probably higher odds of getting something in front of one of their faces. But again, can't complain. It's just lessons learned. Take it next time you go up.
Yeah. You never know. You get one drift and the one fish that is eaten,
Yep,
that's the way I look at it.
for sure.
So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. So the way we do this, we get into this water, just a little discouraging. So me and
Yeah.
Stump were like, yeah, right. I wanted to say this. When you dipped in, how long did it take for your egg pattern to freeze up?
Oh my gosh, no time at all.
Instantly.
Yeah, constant thawing my egg. Even my drop was freezing up. And I don't know why, but we conditioned our lines and I never went back to do that again. And again, more regrets, but why wasn't I at least twice more while we were out there? I should have retreated my stuff and I didn't. I was just fighting it. But yeah, the eggs were constant rock. It was just
Dude,
bonkers.
rock solid. I remember within a couple casts, I had beads on my line and my egg was frozen solid. I'm like, woo, it's going to be a day. I didn't re-up the pace from day one. Fished a couple drifts. Day two, realized stuff was freezing that fast. And then after we broke ice, we were kind of sitting and chilling a little bit and drinking some coffee. I paced it up. And to your point, it definitely made a difference in that beginning for a while.
Yeah.
Still icing up like crazy though. But man, it was tough.
I wish I had done more of that. It was crazy. The egg was just constantly frozen. My shot was frozen.
Hmm.
There were beads of ice on the line. Like it was just throwing a chain of ice out there.
Just a little discouraging. So me and
Yeah.
Stump were like, yeah, right. So me and Stump decided we're going to go upstream and do some recon. We wanted to check out the water that we didn't really get to explore yesterday. And then you and Dave were going to do your thing down there. And that's how it went for a few hours. So we had two different perspectives on these first couple hours of this trip. So me and Stump go upstream and we work our way up to that big hole. And again, everything's super icy, super slushy. And it was a fairly sunny day that day. So that helped us too, not only for managing slush at some points of the day was better than others, trying to spot fish. And anyway, we get up here and we're looking, and we eventually are able to spot a couple tails. And then you had to time the ice moving through the water, the slush, and then when a piece would shift, hopefully the sun aligns right there, and then you'd be like, oh snap, there's a couple tails. And once we finally found them, we guessed there might have been a pot of 12. And a lot of times if you can't see that well in the water, you add another like third. Like if you think there's 12, there's probably more like 18 there because they sit so tight to each other. And then it's like, all right, should we break ice or should we try to fish them now? Should we keep going and do some more recon? And ultimately we decided to go upstream and keep checking out some water. Just around the bend, there was a really steely run and we're kind of stepping on some ice edges, seeing if we push anything.
Yeah.
And there could have been some fish in these runs, but is breaking all this ice going to be worth it? Is more ice going to form and just kind of keep getting in our way? So me and Stump just keep kind of looking, and we just kept going and kept walking. Unfortunately, it was all ice covered or like slush was backed up to where it was covered. So we were kind of playing around with the idea of potentially trying to break stuff and move stuff out. And I did a little bit and he did a little bit. And ultimately you're like, this is going to take us like 2 hours. So then we're starting to make our way back. What was it like that first hour for you and Dave? Yeah.
Fished it a little bit. Then we decided to, or I guess I kind of just made a decision to go break the ice because I was tired of it cutting off my angle. So I went up and broke that off. And then I kind of just chilled for a minute, let them settle down. And it did move them a little bit. Like a few moved out towards the middle. They weren't
Okay.
facing the shore anymore. But again, with that many fish and they were all piled up like that, anytime you kind of spooked one and it moved, it was like pushing it into the fish next to it. And we were just wrapping or foul hooking. And I think that was giving us like a false sense of this is going to happen eventually because you were still like doing something. But yeah, hindsight, probably should have moved, found a different spot that was more active. But yeah, we were just kind of strong-headed about it, and we were like, we're gonna get a fish out of here. Yesterday was so productive, but I truly don't remember either of us getting a legitimate bite in there.
I would have done the same thing, man. But there's more factors to that. With that amount of slush and ice, like if anyone went to that creek and didn't know where fish were, they would have got back in their car and went home.
Yep, for sure.
It was that icy, it was that slushy, and it was that freaking cold out. So like the options were limited at the time. I don't know if we at that moment if there was another or a better option. It was the first hour of the day. Just keep seeing what's happening, and especially if you have two other guys doing recon, that makes sense. Sit there,
Yeah,
focus on that. Maybe they do turn on. I don't know. Say we avoided it half the day. We could have now been talking about like, man, maybe we should have went back and fished it. Maybe they did turn on. So let's kind of jump around. Like when you guys, so before we met back up, me and Stump came back down, and then we went to the other side of this hole, and we were like, all right, let's try to find these fish. There was a lot of ice on this hole. It's a big run, big hole. So fast forward, obviously you guys knew we were breaking ice because you were getting all of it.
yeah, we were downwind of it. Yeah,
Dude, we probably broke for at least 45 minutes, at least, maybe an hour, because there was just so much and there was such a big swirl. Someone had to really grab stuff and like shift. Anyway, we were trying to find the pod, and from the one angle, I noticed that they shifted back over to the other side. And we're like, cool, we see these fish have moved. Let's go over to the other side and fish them. So this was probably only, I think we talked about this maybe 15, 20 minutes before you guys came up. And so Stump got into one pretty quickly. It was a good fish. And three things you had to notice right away. One, you had to time your drifts. When you were casting, you had to time them to work around the slush. Now, some points the slush was less, sometimes it was more. It really varied all day. It was kind of crazy. I thought the sun would have a little more control of it. When it peaked around like 1, 2, it definitely did. But the rest of the day, man, there were times where I'm like, I don't know why it just got slushier, but it would. And so you're really like timing these drifts, trying to sink them in between a crevice of slush. And then you have to hope that they sink as quick as possible. So you got to get it upstream. And then when you hooked into one or when you had one on, you literally had to like Luke Skywalker, knife your side pressure, and sometimes a slush shelf would come down and you're literally going so side pressure, parallel to the river, to the creek, and like kind of like knifing it under and then trying to guide your arm around it. And then someone would maybe try to break some slush out. I did that for Stump to get his fish through the slush. I literally went and sawed it out while he was fishing one. So you had to really account for how you were guiding them once you had one on. And then the best way to kind of land them was near the tail. So you always had to plan to keep working your way back, a little backpedaling. It was interesting because you had to make sure you were locked in on your fish, but then you had all these other outside factors that we had to work around.
Yeah, it was a very technical
It
day
was.
for
It
everything.
was.
Placing your cast, then like you said, I think I had two that went through sludge or whatever, not sludge, but through the shit. And yeah, you're just kind of like, well, here it goes. It's gonna break me off. Or
Yeah,
like you're saying, you're trying to maneuver your rod. You look like a wizard out there casting spells
that's
because you're
it.
just trying to dodge it. Yeah, so
That's it,
it
buddy.
was a very technical day, that's for sure. Even just to get one to bite, to get the line in the water, and then to land it was another thing on top of it. It was pretty nuts.
It adds to this experience. It was a little bit tougher for you, but you hooked into a couple legit. Like you had 2 or 3
Oh
on,
yeah,
it just didn't
yeah,
work out for you. You know, we always count hookups for steelheads. You know how it is. We know it's frustrating up there when you don't land one. There's something so special about those massive rainbow trout. You just want that final chapter
sure.
of that story.
Yeah,
But I'm always of the mindset, man, if I did everything right to trick that fish with feather and tinsel and all this stuff and it
yeah.
got off, there's so much to that. I don't know. I just think that's important.
I think yeah, that's 100%. I completely forgot about the one. I tail wrapped one and I horsed them in and everything was fine. Like my setup was fine. And then I did legitimate have a take and it just broke me off. But when I saw my line, it took everything and I just had that pigtail. So you know that the knot let loose. And it's like, how did I just horse in a fish? And then the next thing you know, the knot slips. It's like, that makes no sense in my brain. But yeah, those are the ones that haunt you, and it's killer. But you're right. As long as you're getting bites, this was a true steel trip for me because I'm usually one that leaves and is like, I didn't lose that much material. I didn't lose a lot of flies, so on and so forth. But this was one where my box was getting low. They definitely worked me on day two. But yeah, you're right. You got to appreciate the bites. You got to appreciate just a little bit of a ride because even that's just the exhilarating part of it.
Hardest part is getting them to eat, man. You
Yeah,
know, you can't do anything else. You can't land a fish unless you get it to eat. So like the second hardest part is landing it, but the hardest part is getting it to eat. So that's the way I
yep,
look at it.
for sure.
And then it's cool because so Stump gets into one, and this is the way Stump does it. Like Stump gets into like spurts. Like he goes into like hot spurts where he'll hit like a couple right in a row, and then it'll take him a few hours. And then he'll 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden he's up to like, oh, I got 3 there, and then I got two more there. And sure enough, that's how he started. He went like 1 for 3, so kind of moving into that. And in between that, I landed one as well, but it took probably 15 plus minutes after Stump. He got into 1 or 2 right away. Then I got one. All
Yeah,
good battles. All these fish were dogging, staying down low. They were using that cold water. Not many fish came to net quick, which was cool, but that's why we were losing quite a bit too. You guys are on your way up.
yes. We knew you were breaking ice because of the slush coming down. And so then we've tried to fish through that for a while. But what happened was that started to build back up on the rocks that I had already broken off. And we were just like, all right, let's go. And so we went up. And I think that's when you both had one on the board, or maybe I think you both had one on the board. So that's probably like 30 minutes into you guys fishing. Yeah.
So anyway, so kind of pushing through. It's going good. We know there's 20 plus fish in here, probably more, and they're kind of sitting in some different spots. We're hooking some at the head a little bit, we're hooking some a little bit closer, some more at the tail. And the action on the other side, although was doable because there was fish there, but if you didn't get a drift even more specific on your side, because you guys hooked in the fish, you just didn't have as much consistency as we did on the other side.
Yeah. And the side Dave and I was on to start had that swirl or eddy, if you will. That was catching so much more. The slush was coming down and then kind of circling back to us. That was where I got in my head and having a rough time because it was just messing with me because I'm trying to dodge, like you said, dodge the
Hmm.
stuff coming down. Coming from my left now, because I'm facing upstream is right, there's more slush circling back through. So I'm fighting stuff coming down. Meanwhile, it's coming back up, and I'm just like, I can't win here, and I'm getting frustrated. I wasn't clearing my ice. It was weird because that's when you need to just be like, okay, the goal is to catch a fish, but what do I need to do to get there? And
Good
instead,
point.
I just kept focusing on I need to catch a fish, not clear your line, focus on this, do technical things. I was just strong heading my way through it. I was going to brute through it, and that's not the approach you need to take.
Not on those elements, to your point. Like, I think I brought up to you, I was like, the only difference between me and you right now is I think I'm clearing my ice more than you are. And you're like, okay, that's something something you, to your point, you were focused on fishing. And it's just something that I noticed. I have a habit of being a teacher, I was like, I think this could be a part of why you're struggling. If you didn't clear it a lot, like every 4 or 5 casts, we were creating like floaties. Our splitties, our eggs, they were getting so much ice on them and then beating up so much. That stuff was like floating. It wasn't sinking. So even if you put more splitties on or if you put a heavier fly on, it didn't really matter because we had these flotation devices now rigged up. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's like us biting the ice off, right? Where I'm just like running that line through my mouth,
I know.
lost, and just
Corn
like,
on the cob. Yeah.
yeah, corn on the cob, exactly. And it sucks, but you have to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I tried to put more weight. Like I had an absurd amount of weight on. I was like, this is it. I got this.
Yeah.
And nope, it's still floating. And like you said, you definitely have that teacher personality in and out of school. And I like fishing with you for that because you will just be like, dude, this is what you need to do. And it's great for me because I get in my head, like I just said, my goal is to catch a fish and I'll forget everything else. I just get so tunnel visioned on that. And I think you almost verbatim said 5 casts, 10 casts, and clear it. And then I was like, okay, I stopped everything I was trying to do. I was counting my casts, and then as soon as I got it, I would clear it. And immediately my drifts were way better. Everything was looking better.
Your
Still
casts were
fighting the
better.
slush on top. Yeah, exactly.
You had a little bit more
Yep.
precision. It's hard to cast that freaking weight.
But yeah, kind of approached it that way too long. I also then was like, all right, I'm coming over to that side,
Yep.
which helped getting out of that eddy situation. Yeah, definitely was smart to go over to that side, practice the de-icing, do all that, and it looked better.
Dude, so what's crazy though? Like, I'm just reading some of my notes and stuff and kind of moving around, but like, did you know that Stump had his same egg on for a day and a half?
No, no.
The same exact one.
Dang.
So he started calling it my lucky egg, like doing like a little
Nice. Yeah. Cool runnings.
cool runnings. He even sent me a meme
Yeah,
today, dude. He's like, "You want to kiss my lucky egg?" And
that's amazing.
because I was asking him about it, and I was like, "What did you get that big dog on?" Because that's what he
Yeah.
landed the big one on too. So let's kind of fast forward. So because I want to get to this. All right, so let me backtrack a little bit. We're catching fish. We're all kind of rotating. Dave's going back and forth. You went down for a bit too at some point. I think maybe Dave's fishing the other side for a bit. You just kind of take a walk down, but you're not down there that long. Stumps into a couple fish by now. I've landed like 2. I think he has as well. He might even be up to 3 or 4 at this point. So we're into the afternoon now. Fish are starting to move. You've moved a couple fish. Again, Dave's kind of moving back and forth through this stretch of water. And we're getting into this point where slush is a little bit better, a lot less. The sun's out. It's a little bit warmer. I say warmer. It might be a whole like 12 degrees at this point.
Yeah. Yep.
But Stump makes a great move and he decides to cross the creek and go up the hill to the vantage point and look down into this water just to see. I mean, he's got polarized glasses, the sun's out. And I wanted to make sure we emphasize this because we're catching fish, we're hooking in a fish. It's nothing like it was the day before, but especially for the conditions, it's a really good steelhead day. Things are going well. And then he goes up here and he's like, there's a bleep ton of fish. And he goes, they start up kind of at the head, but
Yes.
it makes a big J. It's almost like they kind of curve into the riffle and then they go down the whole seam. And he's like, there's over 50 plus fish in here. And you're like, what? That's crazy. Like, because you can't see them all. You can see fish, but you really can't see that many. And it's hard to even fathom. I'm like, there's no way. Like, I mean, obviously I believe him, but you're just like, wow, holy crap. So I went over to, I was like, I got to see what this is like. And Stump probably even said higher number. To his credit, I think there was minimum 100 fish in this run. And it blew my mind. It honestly was the craziest thing I've seen. I've never seen that many steelhead in a run, ever. I've seen sections of water with a bunch of pods of 30, 40, 50, here, there, but never in one huge run. And every now and then you'd see an absolute whale. Dude, there was a couple fish in there well over 32, well over it. They'd be next to a big one and you'd be like, there's a freaking shark in there. Like, that's crazy.
I know.
It was unbelievable.
I I know. I wish I had gone up and looked, but again, I was just so focused on getting that one in, and then that probably killed me, and it was also exciting at the same time. He goes up there, like you said. I can't remember him saying a number. I know you said over 100 or around 100 because I had
Hmm.
like a mental note of that, but his reaction and the excitement in his voice when he said that there's some big ones in there, and I'm just like, merp. I can't land a single one right now. I had a few good rides. I think I had two that were really in there, but yeah, I was just like, God damn, like, come on. But the setup of it and the ability for you guys to go up and look down, all that was so cool. And I wish I had gone up and taken a break because to see them that big would have just been so cool. I mean, we know they're in there, but you're literally looking at them at that point, and it's reinvigorating right there.
It was. And for me, now I take that information and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go start my drift in that spot now. I did not fish that spot once. And sure enough, that helped find a couple more fish to get to bite. To that point, though, there was that many fish in there, not that many were biting, right? We
Right.
had
Yeah.
fairly consistent action, like every 10, 15 minutes, someone was probably hooking into a fish. But if there's 100 steelhead in there and we had been there the day before, it would have been an absolute frenzy. It would have been crazy. So it's more of a testament to the conditions and the temperature, how many fish were turned off. If it wasn't for having that many fish there, we might have all gotten skunked that day for how cold and how tough those conditions were. I'm going to say I went 6 for 8 that day. Stump probably went about the same. I know you hooked into 3 or 4, and I think
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave landed at least 2 downstream. And so without that insane number, the conditions lined up for us to get skunked.
For sure. Yeah, I think something that I would like to pay attention to more, because we got notifications day one that the squall was coming in, but we got notifications that there was another storm coming to that area. And that's why we ended up not having our third day of fishing because we were just like, we're not going to battle that on the drive out.
Right.
I think another thing to look at is the barometer because, as we know, the barometric pressure does impact the fish. The temps dropped. It was getting ready for a storm to roll in, and I think that's why they all kind of just chilled, like they were done. And sure, good casts, good drifts, put it right in the opportune spot for those ones that we got. But yeah, that's something moving forward. I just, as a fisherman, not just steelhead, but trout fishing, I want to be conscious of and kind of checking and keep those patterns in mind so that when you're out there, you know if you're up against it or if it's an opportune day.
I think you're right. That big winter storm that was they were forecasting coming in probably had an effect. And I think, for the obvious reasons, like we've talked about, the conditions, just the water was below freezing. Steelhead have a range. There's a range when they like to eat.
For sure. And the cold was keeping me from changing up my setup too, which is another thing I just get lazy on with the conditions, but that's something else that I probably should have been more active on that day. All right, this isn't working, change it up. But I was just so like, I'm gonna stay warm and just fish this because it's already on there. But those are all the things that factor into what the day ended up being.
I don't know if switching up the flies was that big of a deal. I think it was just you had to literally find the fish in that moment that wanted to eat. I think we know purple beads continued to work. That was a
Yeah.
factor. I continued to catch them. Eggs were more of a factor, I think, on day 2.
Yep.
I caught a couple on eggs. Stump caught a bunch on his egg.
Lost that one on an egg.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but there wasn't any one real specific color pattern either. All 3 of us had different colors that worked. I think it was timing and luck and the right drift at the
Yeah,
right
that's
time.
fair.
But I do want to talk about the story with Dave and the Purple Bead Ninja.
Yeah.
So at one point, Dave is down below us in the other run fishing, and it's probably what, a couple hundred yards downstream. And he comes back up and he's all pumped up and he's like, "Oh, you're never gonna believe what happened. I was fishing and I foul hooked 2 fish, and in the second one he foul hooked, he broke off the bottom fly." So and then he's like, "I look down and there's one of your purple beaded ninjas on the ground in the rocks." He's like, sweet. So he tied it on. First cast, he lands a fish. And then there was only a couple drifts later, he lands another one with it. So literally finds a fly, puts it on, and lands his first 2 fish of that day. And it's even more interesting about that story. I remember dropping that fly that morning and I could not find it. I could not find it, dude. I was switching my bottom fly. Or no, I might have broke off early in the morning. Pull it out and I dropped it. Could not find it anywhere. It was
He's
fate.
just walking and sees it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was perfect. He just happened to see it and then get his first two. So I thought that was awesome. And they might have been the two he landed for the day. So that makes it even cooler. The purple bead was working and it was like dropped down from the heavens.
Yeah. Little gift from the stream.
Exactly. That's it.
Yep.
So then I think Stump's into like 4 or 5 by now, and he hooks into an absolute bruiser. So we knew some big dogs were in here. We saw them. And I think I even said this to everyone. I just want one person to catch one of those hogs. We got to see one. And sure enough, Stump hooked into an absolute unit. And I was watching this footage, dude. I struggled on netting that fish.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that? I missed
Yeah.
it 2 or 3 times because it was so big. It was a huge male. We measured it after the fact. It was a legit 30-inch male, just a big, awesome buck. And I went to net it, and it banged off my rails a couple times. I have a big net. We've talked about this. It's a perfect steelhead net. But when you get into a class of 30 above, and that was probably 10, 12-pound fish easily, there was multiple times in my head, I'm like, do not mess this up right now. Like, what are you doing? Even though I wasn't doing anything that wrong, it's hard to plan to scoop a fish of that size. And I missed it like 3 times. And I can't imagine what Stump was going through his head.
Yeah, at that point, I was up at the spot. Like you were saying, to land them, you had to get down towards the tail a little bit more. And so I couldn't see it, but I saw you miss twice at least with the net. And
Yep.
I was like, no way is he gonna mess this up, because there's no way. You don't mess up nets often. And so then I started walking down. And then, yeah, that's when you actually got it in the net, and I could see how much of the net was filled, and I was just like, no way. And I have the picture on my phone actually, and it's huge. Yeah, it's massive.
He That's Stump's first 30. So he
Yeah,
got to break the 30
I mean
mark.
that's a great 30 to land it on, and an awesome trip to land it on. But
And he smoked it too. That egg was buried deep in its mouth. Obviously, if I missed that how many times before I finally got it in, he had it locked in perfectly. He's one of the best I've seen battle fish. It doesn't matter a lot of the times how good you battle them, but he is really good. Sunk it deep, had it locked in, and it had your flame egg in the back.
yeah, on the side fin it had my fireball egg pattern, and so I got that back, which was appreciated.
I say you were talking about losing flies. There you go. You got one
I know,
back.
yeah, I got one back. It was a good one, but yeah, that was hilarious because I was like, no way. Like, of course I broke that one off. There's no way you're bringing that thing in with a foul hook.
It's not the best thing, but we bring in foul hooked fish because we want our flies. We don't want to break, and I don't want a fish to have flies in it. So you know what I
But
mean?
yeah, I was so happy. Yeah,
Some people just straighten the rod and they just break off intentionally, and I get that. I do because it's going to rust out and stuff. But one,
for
I want
sure.
my flies back, and two, I'm not intentionally leaving flies in a fish.
Yeah,
So
we're trying to do as minimal harm as possible. But yeah, that was nice to get it back, get it out of the fish, and also have my own little piercing in his massive,
you
massive
left your mark.
steelhead. Yeah, right.
You left your mark. Technically, without your fly in its fin, maybe never would have landed it. You know
Yeah,
that could have completely affected the the way that fish was eating, just tilted its body. I don't. You never know. You never know.
I
So
made it mad, and it started attacking
they
everything, including his fly.
they got aggressive.
Yeah.
Dude, so Stump lands a massive fish. This is probably around that afternoon time. And then it does start getting cooler as it's getting darker. Those last like 2, 3 hours, it's definitely slowing down. We're still kind of catching one here, one there. Getting down to the end, still having some action as that last hour and a half or so is hitting. But do you remember the fish starting to pop, starting to rise?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that
Dude,
was crazy.
I love when steelhead
Acting
rock.
like little brookie trout or
They
something there,
were
man. They just started smacking top water. And
everywhere.
I honestly don't know that I've ever seen that. I haven't been on as many trips as you, but that was out of character for what I've seen, and it was so cool to see. Again, frustrating because I was trying to catch one.
You should have thrown a yellow hopper.
I know, right? Yeah, I
That's
should
it,
have
man.
gone
Yellow hoppers. That's
get
what
the
I hear.
fall patterns out. But yeah, it was so cool to just observe and see, and they got aggressive on the top.
They were smacking that top. Some were like porpoising, but there was some that were ripping that top. I did hook into one. It was awesome. I placed it where one rose, and he happened to like rise on it, and I think I just timed it perfectly and got one in the mouth. I don't know if he was going for it, if it was just good timing. I don't really care. I mean, it was in the mouth and it was awesome.
Yeah. He left
But
his
yeah,
YouTube
man,
channel.
when you see those fish start boiling and just start rising like that, it's something special. We've seen it a couple times. Honestly, you know what's crazy? I see it more super cold trips. Yes, if we're thinking about it out loud, it's something I haven't really thought about until now. And me, Beeve, and Dave were on trip number 2 up on private water. They were rising. Cold, insanely cold trip. Just as cold, almost just as cold as this trip. And then me and Dave also saw them rising on the other section on that same trip on a different creek. They were rising then, and I've seen them other times, but it's usually like 1 or 2 or 3. And then this really cold trip, man, we saw 24 total risers at least.
For sure. Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to me
Yeah.
because it's so cold. You would think they don't want to do that exertion of energy, but yeah, they were popping there.
What are they eating?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Honestly, I don't know.
Midges, I guess. I mean, there's got to be something in there. There's got to be a midge. Maybe it's just a reaction for them because I know they rise in the lake too, but
Yeah,
they got to be eating something.
snow cones.
They got to be eating like a tiny winter midge or something.
Yeah, there's definitely something there that we weren't seeing, but they were going after it. It was cool.
Man, it was a great trip. I mean, the trip was incredible. It was a good day.
Yeah.
Again, I know you didn't get to stick one officially, but
That's like I said, with how day 1 played out, everything after that was a bonus. So really,
yep,
it's
I
just
agree.
me nitpicking, but yeah, it was awesome.
Dude, and then thank goodness we had, an absolute banner day and then a really solid day 2 because all of a sudden, right, winter storm warning, which we didn't know was coming. They were calling for some snow, but I thought it would be later. We even saw a big sign driving back to our Airbnb, winter storm warning watch. It's going to get colder. It's going to start snowing at like 6 a.m. And then it's supposed to drop, like a foot of snow. With lake effect snow, that usually means double everything. And again, when you have a trip like that, dude, we're going to remember this trip forever. It was awesome to get you back in there. Stump has never really had a banner day. He's been hunting for 2 years and has hit some really hard trips. Me and Dave have been hitting it hard for how long and have had, again, just a lot of tough trips for all of us. It made it even better. It was special, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And what an ender for the season.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like it ended this season really, really strong. I remember getting a text from you last year because I was off for the year, and you said like not a terrible season to miss. And so for me to come back this year, for that to be the trip I came back on, and for the first day to be what it was, like you couldn't write that any better. And then yeah, really kind of crazy how the last day played out. Like we knew storm weather was coming in, we were okay with it. I think it was like 3 inches to start, and then we got an alert it could be up to 20, and we were like, yeah, we're out. Like
Yeah.
we can hang our hat on this. It was worth it. But yeah, definitely there's been grind by everybody that was present, and so we all definitely were rewarded for all the other trips that we've put in. So couldn't ask for more. And I beached my first one this trip, and I don't want to beach anymore because that is next level nerves. When I
Dude.
knew nobody was around, and I was like, I got to get this to the shore. Are you kidding me? Like I took that thing all the way downstream.
With no net,
Yeah,
man, that's really tough. Beaching it is a different level.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, man. So then bright and early, we're on the same page, pack up,
yeah,
hit the road, long trek back, get back to our families and close out the Steelhead season on an absolute high note.
for sure.
So yes, that's where we're closing this episode out. We're gonna end season 1 with this. I thought it was appropriate, end of season 1 of the podcast and a winter steelhead season. And then I'm looking to really dig into the videos over the next 5-6 weeks, I'm thinking. I've been alluding to them for weeks and months. And then I plan on jumping back into season 2, starting here in trout season, jumping into that time of the year. So early spring, we'll get into that. And then before you know it, Pono, we're back into winter steel again, baby.
Yes, sir.
Already
Can't
planning
wait.
like 300 days in advance. Let's go.
Yeah, right. Yep. Well, we already know we both have MLK off, so that's in the books.
That's always in the books. That's a good way to end it, Pono.
It was wild.
But thanks for jumping on, dude. I appreciate it, man.
No, thank you for having me. This was awesome. This was really fun.
Yeah, we'll get you back on a little more regular here in the future. Get you on for some trout season 2. So everyone, yeah, again, that'll wrap us up for season 1 of the Steelhead Alley Podcast. I thank you all for tuning in, and you'll see some updates on the YouTube page here, on the Instagram, so keep checking in with us until season 2 starts. But everyone, take it easy. Again, thank you all. If you get out on the water, get into them, stay warm. Spring's coming, and we'll see you then. Thanks again. Pono, take it easy, man.
Yeah,
Enjoy
you
the
too,
ride, brother.
man. Absolutely.